In this session, we will learn about standard dialog boxes available in the .NET Framework class library. A dialog box is a window which the operating system presents in front of us when it wants to communicate or display a message. The user interface of these dialog boxes is managed by the operating system, and we can only implement these dialog boxes using their classes in our programs. Standard dialog boxes are part of .NET Framework class library. These dialog boxes are used for common operations in Windows such as open or save a file, for selecting a color or for printing operations. We can use these dialog boxes in our application by simply using their appropriate classes and setting their properties for displaying and accepting information. To use the common dialog boxes, we need to import the System Windows Forms class from the library. All dialog box classes inherit from common dialog box base class to impart basic functionality of dialog window. Dialog box class has a method called showDialog, which returns a value in response to the button clicked by the user on the dialog box. The user can accept the information and click OK, or reject the information and click Cancel on the dialog box. This information is passed to the program via an enumeration called dialog result. It is a simple collection of constant values to indicate the results returned from the showDialog method. If the showDialog method returns a dialog result.ok as return value, then it means that user has clicked on OK button to accept the dialog box, and the program will process the information, or else it will ignore it. Dialog result values are used in if statements to check its value and decide the code execution path based on user input. Now let's explore how to implement dialog boxes in the program. In Sharp Develop, we can drag and drop standard dialog box components from the Tools window to the form. We can then set the properties of the components and display the dialog box when required. In this example, we have all the dialog box components defined, and we show these dialog boxes when we click the button Control. Using the Properties tab, we specify properties of these dialog boxes, and the form designer adds necessary code in the initialize component function. For example, in the Open File dialog properties, we have to specify file extension and filter properties for the dialog box. During runtime, we need to call showDialog method of the dialog class to display the dialog box to the user. This way, standard dialog boxes can be used with the help of Windows Forms Designer. Now let's run this project and see the various dialog boxes. Open File dialog box, Save File dialog box, Font dialog box, Color dialog box, Browse folder dialog box. We have already seen the use of these dialog boxes in other softwares. In VS Code Editor, we write the complete code in a script file to display the standard dialog box. Here, we import the Open File dialog class and dialog result enumeration and define code to display the dialog box to open a file. Here we run this script. We get an Open File dialog box in which we select the file and click OK button, which returns OK as dialog result from the showDialog method, and the file is opened by the Open File function. If we click Cancel, then no code is written to handle the cancel response, and so nothing happens and the code is finished. Message box is another form of standard dialog box with a slight modification that we can specify the properties of the controls present on its interface. We can decide what button combinations we want to display to the user based on the program logic. We can also specify the type of icon to be used to display in the message box. Message box class is present in the System Windows Forms namespace and is a static class. That is, we cannot create an instance of this class and directly access its members using the name of the class as object. Let's see an example how to implement a message box. Now in this script, we import message box class and message box buttons and icon enumeration from System Windows Forms namespace. We define the message box which displays an error to the user. The first argument is the message to be displayed. Second argument is the title of the message box. Third argument is the button combination, and the last argument is the icon to be displayed. The return value of the show method is a dialog result value, which we can verify with the type command. When we click the OK button, we get the result as dialog result.ok. Now when we click cancel button, we get cancel as the dialog result. This way, the program can decide which button was clicked, and based on that it can follow a predefined logic as per the user input.